So, I just recorded a little B-roll footage for the thumbnail of this video, but what if I did the entire video like this? I could do it. I think I could do it. Okay, on second thought, they're actually kind of getting a little heavy, so gonna pop these over here. Hey there, welcome in or welcome back. My name is Avril, and in this corner of the internet, we chat about writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. And in today's video, I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit on my own writing process. There is a lot of writing tech on the market these days, whether that is a brand new gadget that's coming out, or a new software, or writing app. But the thing is, I actually prefer a handwritten draft. And I know that may come as a surprise to a lot of people, and I am aware there are plenty of detractors to a handwritten draft, which I'll get into later in the video. But I still prefer writing by hand whenever possible, and I figured today would be a great day to make a video for that. All right. Turns out that last week would have been a great day to make this video because National Notebook Day, which is what inspired this video, fell on the 21st this year. It is not a set date, rather, it is the third Thursday of May. So I guess we're a week late, but no time like the present. I began working on my first ever attempt at writing a novel when I was 14. And back then, I didn't have my own computer, and I wouldn't get my own computer until about a week before I left for college. So all of my writing back then was happening in a three-ring binder, and that thing got beaten up to hell and back. It was eventually held together by duct tape because this thing was falling apart. It went with me everywhere. I was always working on this book, which is kind of a story for another day. And we did have a family computer in the house, but for one reason or another, I never really felt like writing my book on it was the best option for me at the time. Even though a handwritten draft did begin out of necessity for me, it does remain my preferred method. For one thing, I think a notebook is more convenient for writing on the go, which, if you know anything about me, you know I do a lot of my writing on the go, again, out of necessity. And depending on where I'm going that day, where I'm going to be writing, it may be easier to just bring a notebook with me than it is to bring my laptop and my charger and be worrying about Wi-Fi. Meanwhile, I can just throw my notebook in my bag and be on my way. Depending on where you're writing that day, a laptop may not actually be all that convenient. Maybe the Wi-Fi is spotty. Maybe you only have a few available outlets to plug your charger into. Or maybe you're just not going to be there long enough to justify pulling out your laptop to begin with. Meanwhile, a handwritten draft doesn't require any of that. A notebook can also be good for those in the moment writing sessions where you have a little unexpected downtime or you have a burst of inspiration that you need to get down right now and you don't want to be fighting with an app on your phone. The very nature of a notebook also makes it easier for me to approach a first draft. When you're typing a first draft up, you're dealing with a blank screen, a lot of white space that feels very clinical and in a way very final, even though it's just a first draft and likely the roughest that your story is ever going to be. Whereas with a notebook, it still has that blank page effect. But as you work on the page and you leave those eraser marks and you scratch things out and the page just warps over time, it really enhances that feeling that this is just a first draft and this isn't the final product. And you're allowed to be messy with your first draft. And I've really come to appreciate that. And this may not be true for everyone, but for me at least, I feel like a handwritten draft really takes that pressure off because I'm not feeling like I have to get it perfect. And I can just let my writing do what it does, and I will clean it up when we move to the digital version. And speaking of those cleanups, a handwritten draft also allows me to make small edits in the moment. That way, I'm just able to make a quick note and move on. So, this notebook is one that I was using for blog things. And I don't know how well this will read on camera, but I can show you right here. This is the first draft of a post that went live about 2 weeks ago now. Just a list of Patreon ideas for writers. And you can see here I have a lot of notes and things that I've crossed out and all those lovely little notes to self. Did you really think I was going to show off a handwritten draft for a not yet published fiction project? For what it's worth, I think I only draft about 35% of my blog posts by hand these days. It's really just a matter of where I am and what I'm feeling in that moment. A handwritten draft tends to be more distraction-free and tactile, both of which are really helpful for my brain. There's something about the physical act of writing itself that really helps me zone in on my project and stay in that zone for longer. And I also think it helps kind of slow my thinking down and allow me to stay in the moment. When I'm typing a first draft, I tend to get ahead of myself. So that leads to words either missing or skipping over things, whereas a handwritten draft really almost encourages me to slow down, stay in the moment, linger in my writing, and really take that time to craft what I'm thinking. I just feel more connected to my writing with a handwritten draft, and that is especially true as a writer of historical fiction, because my characters would not have access to a computer. They would be writing everything by hand as well, and I just really like having that bond with my writing. I know that's a silly reason, but also, I'm not sure if the audio will pick it up or not, but I'm pretty sure that my neighbor is working on his motorcycle right now, so if you hear any of that engine noise, there's not really much I can do about it. Even though I do prefer a handwritten draft, I am well aware there are issues that can arise with them. For example, you only have the one copy of that draft, you're not syncing it to the cloud, which means things happen. Your Honor, I present to the court Exhibit A. This here is part of the first draft for Forged in the Sol, which is my blacksmithing project that has been on pause for a couple of years now. And part of that was the frustrations I was having with this project. I refer to it as my problem child for a number of reasons. And that, unfortunately, also has to do with this notebook, which, as you can see, has a lot of paper towels in it. And you may be thinking, why are there paper towels in your notebook? Well, friend, there was an incident. So I had this notebook in the trunk of the car. I had just gotten picked up from work, and my mom and I were running a few errands. And come to find out that one of the jugs of water we had gotten had a hole in it, and it was leaking, and it leaked all over the trunk of the car and totally saturated this notebook. So as soon as we get home, I'm panicking because this thing is saturated at this point. I know I just joked about not showing any fiction projects in the video, but lo and behold, I'm going to. Don't worry, this page is mostly blank. So, prime example here, it was bad. There was a lot of damage, as you can see here, and this thing took quite some time to dry. I was sitting with a hair dryer and freaking out all the while. There have actually been a few instances with different felines that I've had over the years where I'll be working on my writing, whether that's drafting or self-editing, and all of a sudden my cat will be a little too invested and knock over my tea or my drink, and yeah, so that's happened more than once. There have also been times where I've just flat out lost the notebook altogether. And this is why I really say that Forged in the Sol really is kind of my problem child project. So I had gotten dropped off for a job interview in one of the casinos in the area, and I had a little bit of time to kill, and I had brought my notebook with me. So I was working on that project, and somewhere along the way, I'm pretty sure I lost that notebook in the casino, and it was never recovered. So I don't know what happened to it, but long story short, I had to start drafting that project all over again. There's also a blog post that I'm finally rewriting, but years ago, I had started the first draft for a blog post in a notebook, and I lost that notebook. I don't know what happened to it, and I was so frustrated by that. I actually kept putting off that particular blog post for a few years. I'm hoping it'll be ready for this fall. I'm actually splitting it up into 2 different posts that will be going live on the same day. That notebook vanished somewhere in this house. I don't know. And then in college, I went on a travel course to London, and that's kind of the origin story of Bound to the Heart. But I left my notebook on the plane, and I realized it as soon as we got off, and I needed to have a staff member go retrieve it for me. But on the bright side, I think I would have been even more embarrassed had it been when we landed at Heathrow, because here I am, first time in your country, literally not even 2 minutes in, and all of a sudden I'm already looking like an idiot. An American idiot, if you will. And that's not to say that a digital draft is completely immune to going missing or damage in any way. Files can definitely get corrupted, things may not sync up right. You could end up losing the flash drive, speaking from experience, or you might have your computer die and there's no way to retrieve those files, speaking from experience. So basically, there is no completely foolproof way of writing, unfortunately, but a handwritten draft does tend to be a little less foolproof, at least in my experience. And then, depending on the writer, a handwritten draft may take longer than a digital draft, which, if you're working on a deadline, may not always be the best option. There's also the potential for physical strain with a handwritten draft, which, to be fair, can also happen with the digital draft. And also with a handwritten draft, you will eventually have to type everything up anyhow, which I think is one of the reasons that a lot of people don't do a handwritten draft. Because if it's going to have to be digitized eventually, why not start out with a digital draft? But for me, that is actually where my first round of self edits really happened. So as I'm reading over all of my notes and going through all the little comments that I made and transcribing my first draft, I'm actually doing a lot of revisions in the moment. So it's just another angle of that same step of self editing. Hi. You want to come say hello? But anyway, I think the little lad is getting hungry, so I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day here with me in this corner of the internet. Be sure to like and subscribe and do all the things for more writing, life, and whatever else comes to mind. Be sure to check out my blog and all my socials that I have linked in the description of this video. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. All done? Okay.